Hey guys, welcome to the newest episode of BlizzPlanet.com's Diablo Dialogue. I know we took a week off, you missed me. I pretty much missed you, but let's get into it, all right? So, what about questions from 2 weeks ago? So we had double question time for you, all right? We had to tie you over for the 2 weeks. So we're wondering first off if you agreed or disagreed with Eldorian's rant about players announcing at a very public forum that they were leaving Diablo 3. And we were also wondering when it comes to sort of the Jay Wilson scandal, if you will, if you think that his apology was warranted and if you think it was enough, here were your best answers. All right, so thanks guys so much for your comments, your responses, positive, negative. We love the feedback, love to hear from you guys. So let's get right into that weekly news roundup.
Stay a while and listen.
So we have our very first level 100 Paragon, all right? A user named Al Kaiser was the world's first, at least that we know of, level 100 Paragon. So now you know you got your 60 levels you play through, and then you get Paragon levels up to 100 on top of that. And of course, it only took him a few weeks to get this done. Now, Kaiser did an interview with DiabloFans.com regarding this whole, accomplishment. And he said he wasn't really trying to be the first 100, he was just playing. He said he was playing about 17 to 19 hours per day for the first few days, so obviously he was pretty darn excited about the Paragon levels. And then after that, he was playing for 12 to 15 hours per day up until the end. I really have to wonder what else El Kaiser does at all. It took me like 2 weeks to beat Darksiders 2, which was like 25 hours, so this guy's just, wow! So, heck of an accomplishment for not even trying. So the final issue of Sword of Justice is now out. The fifth and final issue of the Diablo 3 comic book has hit store shelves now. So Aaron Williams and Joseph LaCroix have finished their final issue of this miniseries, in which a boy named Jacob, his destiny is bound to Tyrion's legendary Sword of Justice. In this final issue, Jacob and the wizard, Shaynar, are going to gain a new ally in their quest to save Stallbreak. And their journey has taken them all the way to the depths of the demonic infestation in the ruins of Mount Ariat. And you can buy this copy, of course, at your local comic book store. I've always been a big fan of your local comic book shop, and if you must insist on a digital copy, you can head over to Comixology and pick one up yourself. So, some big changes coming to crowd control. So let's be very clear first off, what is crowd control, you're probably wondering. Well, these are abilities that you use like stuns, freeze, turning enemies into sheep, things that basically stop an enemy from doing something so that you can get a better handle. It's usually used if you're fighting up against, a champion with a champion's mob, so you can like put a stun on the champion and take out the mob, makes it a little easier for you, things like that, but really use them however you want. But with 1.0.5, they're talking about some potential changes coming out. Now, this came out with senior technical game designer Wyatt Chang put out a developer blog about this. Now, the reason that the crowd control is sort of diminished in the game, as it stands right now, is the monsters need time to threaten you. While the infinite crowd control rotations feel really cool, it's kind of fleeting. And if the crowd control becomes too powerful, it trivializes a lot of the major mechanics that are built into the game. Plus, if you're in co-op, players can sort of, go in tandem and synchronize their crowd control. So you're sort of like always stunning or always freezing or something like that, which, like I said, it sort of breaks down the mechanics of the game. And since the release, the crowd control system has reduced the skill's effectiveness up to 65%. They always try to, this diminishing returns, at least in Hell and Inferno. Now Blizzard is finally revisiting crowd control. Obviously, this has been a little lower on their priority list. They've addressed things that people have had a lot more problems with, but now they're getting around to crowd control. So how the system is going to work Every monster will have a crowd control resistance. It's going to be on a per monster basis. It's going to start at 0%. And for every 1 second crowd control is applied to that monster, it's going to receive a 10% crowd control resistance. But it's going to lose 10% of that resistance for every 1 second it is not under crowd control. So a little more balance there. Now, elite monster crowd control resistance is going to cap out at its current values, however. So 35% for normal, 50% for nightmare, 65% for hell and inferno. So of course, a lot of numbers we just threw at you. The question is, how is it really going to affect your gameplay? You're no longer going to get immune messages, first off, because of these just incredible diminishing returns. And from a high level, diminishing returns are applied on consecutive stuns to reduce their effectiveness. So it's also no longer going to matter who applies the stun when. It's not going to look at, well, you applied one just a couple seconds ago. It's going to be more like, well, this monster just had a stun applied to it. It doesn't really matter where it came from. And really how this is intended to be used is if you're only using crowd control every 10 or 15 seconds or so, you're going to get the full effect every time you use it. That's really what they're trying to get back to was, what was the original concept behind these crowd control abilities? How were they meant to be used? And figuring out how to tweak things so they get back to that. So that's where they're headed with that. So, end up with a question, as we like to do. So now that we know a little bit about patch 1.0.5 and some information coming out with it, with like the crowd control fixes, what are some more changes you would like to see in this upcoming patch? I know 1.0.4 gave us some big changes. What are you still looking forward to? What are you hoping to see in 1.0.5? Throw it down in the comments. Let us know, all right? We're going to post those best answers on next week's show. And while you're on YouTube, why don't you check out the Bearded Gamer Show? All kinds of video game awesomeness and this fantastic beard. You love to watch it. It's good times. And of course, go to blizzplanet.com. All the news, reviews, great community, everything you need to know about Blizzard Entertainment games. See you guys next time.